Yo guys, okay, I am a lot late today. I apologize for that. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? Bitcoin has lost significant support level. And so there's a lot that we need to discuss regarding that. Is the punishment going to continue on? Are you going to get Bitcoin going to 70K, 50K, that kind of question? And then in addition, what is the short-term outlook for Bitcoin? Are we going to maybe rally back up to say 104, 103? What is best case, worst case scenario? Or is this dip also, and the third kind of angle, is this dip short-lived? Okay, so to have a look at what we said last week real quick, we were talking about that there's a lot of similarities between how Bitcoin looked and functioned in the past. And probably the best chart to do is not this one, but this chart. Let me just quickly get there. Apologize. There we go. There we go. I want to just show you the similarities that we had between Bitcoin when we were in our previous bull market versus the current bull market that we're currently experiencing. Okay. Then also what we said was that the 4-hour trend is bearish at the moment. Hence the fact that I'm in a short. So I've been shorting all the way down. And if we have a look at the 4-hour time frame, you can see that this was the chart that we basically shared with you guys, expecting that 106 is this pivotal point. Once we've confirmed that we're rejecting from that range, the sell-off is going to take us back to the previous demand in the demand range. So we are trending bearish. Okay. Then what we talked about was that the daily was in a lateral range. Now, the best example, I can actually stay on this chart for you guys, is that as you can see, although we've got this 4-hour bearish movement, and we've got this weekly saying that the momentum is gone, the daily we have not lost or left the previous trading range, meaning from these lows, these highs, these lows, we're basically range bound on the daily time frame. And the rule when we range bound, you bullish at the bottom and you bearish at the top, with the idea that this thing can chop around in this area indefinitely until it decides where it wants to go and what it wants to do. A really good example is if we look at the previous daily range, when we range bound, it doesn't mean that this is the short. I mean, we could go back to 115 for that matter, and make even a higher high with another divergence, and then only have a reversal. So we have to be open to all the possibilities and potentials. Now, I think if your alts are underwater, 115 would be an amazing feeling because it will bring a sigh of relief to your portfolio. But remember, guys, we take things level by level. I try not to predict too far into the future. And as always, this is not financial advice. I am purely showing you what the charts are telling me. And I'm weighing up the risks to make what I think is my best decision. And I try and use this exercise to give you as much information as possible so that you can do your own research on this. Okay, there you have it. Okay, so then what else did we say? Bitcoin did need a very big move in order to break the alts funk, with the idea that Ethereum will then potentially go to a 2K low area. So if we look at what Ethereum did, Ethereum dropped all the way back to $2,100. This would probably be a better chart. I've been so all over the show with my charts. There we go. This would probably be a better chart. You can see ETH went back to $2,100. And looking at this chart, there's probably still a little bit more. Okay, so we're up to speed of where we were. Now we need to think about what we're going to do next. Before I do that, though, just want to say hi to everybody. Remind everybody that this content is brought to you by Bybit. So if you want to support the content, you want to support the channel, get your Bybit account today. That will also give you access to some of the Discord perks. So if you join the Discord, your Discord would look something like this. Once you have the Bybit role, let me just add the Bybit role for you. Come on, load. Once you have the Bybit role, there, and the bragging rights role, which gets given to you if you've got the Bybit, your Discord would look something like this. You'll have access to the 4-hour harmonic patterns in the Discord. It's a bot that runs 24/7 over the weekend, rain or snow. It gives you all sorts of, for the alts, all sorts of setups based on Bybit, scanning harmonic ranges, which is another way of looking at Elliott wave patterns in a way. It gives you the divergence scanner that also scans the market 24/7 on various time frames. And once it picks up the divergence, it lets you know, okay? And it gives you stats on all the signals at the beginning of each trading day, all the signals that was called yesterday and the signals that were called before. So you have an idea of all the pairings all brought into one chart. In addition to this, I'll also give you access to the Bybit spot trade group, as well as my portfolio planning channel and the HODL guide, which I think is necessary for anybody. Okay, so there's a lot in it. There's a lot in it for you, other than just the deposit bonuses and stuff that Bybit gives you away. Okay, now comments. Let's talk to you guys. Let's see where we're at. Good morning, Stanku, Renee. Good morning, Mr. BB, Oleg, all of you guys. Chris. Today, you're first, my friend. Well done. Okay. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to see where you guys are tuning in from. And let me know what you're holding. Is there a coin that's maybe underwater? I'll take 1 or 2 requests at the end of the stream. Okay. Now, let's take a deep breath. Take it slow, because we need to now unpack the next journey for Bitcoin for us. Okay. So what I'm going to do is very simple. I'm going to start off with a clean chart with you guys. Now, remember, I do these things live, so it's not like I can pre-prep these charts and just talk off a certain subject. Okay, there we go. Clean chart. Now, when we have a clean chart, it allows us to not have any biases. So the first thing that I would try and do to try and define whether we're going to go lower or higher is to just mark out critical support and resistance levels. Because we know when the market goes higher, it makes higher highs, and when it goes lower, it makes lower lows, which means it breaks through resistance barriers, and for the other side, it will fall through support levels. Okay, so you need to know that to start off with. Okay, because doing this is not an analysis, it's going up. It's not. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do then is just to mark that. So what I do is I use my RSI. That's the simplest, easiest tool that I can think of to try and help you guys mark out areas where you need to look for support. So click a line there. There's a nice pivot in the RSI. Where do we find a nice pivot? There we found a nice pivot in the RSI. There was a nice pivot. Okay. There was a nice one. And there was a nice one. And subsequently there. And I can probably just drag the line over there and there. Okay, so now that I have big movements in the market, big areas, we can probably move that one there as well, because we had a change in direction, although not a 180, But when you have big moves in the market like that, that tells you where support and resistance was. There was a support for price. People thought this was a bargain, okay? And there was a resistance in price. People thought this was too expensive. They changed their mind. Okay. Now that we do have those levels marked out, I switched to a line tool, because the line tool makes it simpler. It takes away the noise, takes away the wick. It takes away all the crazy thoughts and the bargaining and the bickering around the bargaining. Because remember, a bargain gets struck when we both decide on a trade, on a price. While we're bickering, negotiating, that's wicks. So at the end of the day, when everybody decides that's the fair price, it's not by accident, Okay. So there would be an area where I would consider would be support for price. And there would be an area where I would consider would be support for price. And if we look at all these lines, I'm just going to put a line on all of them so you can just have a little bit of an idea what I see. Okay. There you have it. And then lastly there. So now that we have these areas marked out, we can switch back to candles. And now we know where the important levels are. Now we want to look at this from a momentum point of view. Now, what does momentum do? Momentum is not something you necessarily can see, but you can anticipate that in the market. And the way that you do that is through your various tools you can use. Let's open the education tab here. Where is this thing hiding? There. Various tools you can use. The best one being looking at the divergences. This one, it's not moved them around again. Divergences. And what we're trying to look for, if we want to be bullish, is we're trying to look for a continuation. So I want to see price stay above a very important support level, but I want to see the RSI move below that to kind of say that this was the market had to flush people out. The flush has occurred, and now you can buy the dip to try and see if you can continue onwards. Okay, so in order to finalize our bearish narrative, we're looking for just that. So what am I looking for? Price not making a lower low. It's already canceled. Okay, and then price trying to make in the RSI doing just that. So at the moment we've got harmony. So there's no hidden bullish divergence. One can now then only argue the pain that we're experiencing here, in order for us to say that, well, maybe we need to have hidden bullish divergence on this pivot, means that price needs to sell off a little bit further so that we can get the RSI to fall below any of the demand pivots that's there. Does any of this make sense? Hell no. None of it makes sense. One can use that probably and say that's the only place where I could say that there's hidden bullish divergence. That's the only point. So at this stage for me, the trend, although it's going to go up, still has not given me anything that suggests that there's a real next uptick coming into the market. Now, let's forget about this then and say, how are we going to treat this as we want to be bearish? Simple. So now we're looking for the opposite. We're looking for a way that we can continue. So the first important level of support resistance now that needs to get retested would be 104. So I want to see price move back up to at least this level here, somewhere in there. Now you can fine tune this slightly by now allowing more information to come in. Okay, so there's a little range between 104, 104, 700, thereabout. That would be the area where I would think price is going to drive its way back up to minimum. And then what I want to see is hidden bearish divergence. I want to see this RSI accelerate past this pivot or this pivot. Until that happens, I cannot be bearish on this as well. So what is the conclusion for Bitcoin for today? Treat it as range bound because there's no trend. There's no real bullish trend and there's no real bearish trend at the moment. We're range bound. And then this then simplifies it for me going forward very easily because it brings me back to what was said. Be bullish at the bottom, be bearish at the top. There's your demand liquidity. There's your supply liquidity. There's the middle of the range. Let's make that yellow. There you go. And you trade this thing in that direction until there and you TP. Simple as that. And that would be the short-term trade for me. So if I zoom this into a 4-hour analysis, okay, I am looking for just that. So what will typically happen on the 4 hours, you can see we're about to create hidden bearish divergence. Okay. So when we do that, I'll take a short to try and see if we can test the demand zone that's sitting right there before I'll even consider going higher. Okay, that's it. And that's all about, if you go back to the daily, being bullish at the bottom, being bearish at the top. Okay, that's it. Right. That's the analysis for BTC. So the crazy thing is, sadly, there's no trend. So there's no real juice to be squeezed out of the market. You need to be a little bit patient. Okay, let's over to your comments and then we can end off the stream. Good morning, Rudo. What's your thoughts about the dinosaur coins like Ethereum Classic, Dash, Neo? I'm currently underwater with these coins. Okay, so what I would suggest is the following. I have this list that I created. This is now for all the Bybit guys. Go and get it. It's in the Discord. If you've got a Bybit roll, you'll have access to the list. And in this list, I categorized all the Bybit trading pairs from bearish coins, kangaroo coins, which means they sideways, bullish coins, which did have bullish momentum up to recently, latest listings, and then obviously, as they come in, I'll add them in there. So when we're talking about these dinosaur coins that you're saying to me, like your Ethereum Classic, your Bitcoin Cash, and some of them are actually bullish still. So Bitcoin Cash has been on what is it for a little bit of a roll, okay, on the 4-hour time frame, and it's just maybe for me, I think, a recycling of liquidity at this stage. So what do I mean by that? Alt season is based on the following principle. Let me just load this real quick. Okay, alt season is always based on the following principle. I'm just going to go to a 1 hour time frame so I can show you this nice and clean. Okay, maybe I can switch off the candles. There's a way that you can hide the candles, isn't there? Oh, well, it's visible enough. Okay, alt season is based on this. Bitcoin moves, then there's an overlap. Then Ethereum, then there's a little bit of an overlap. Then your large caps, then your moves. So if we then take this to heart and say, okay, what? Maybe this is still true. What happened was, you've had Bitcoin moving, nothing, all the stuff was dragging their feet. Then you had Ethereum moving. I'll go daily time frame. Big move on Ethereum. Almost doubled in value, okay, from low to high. Just the other day, Ethereum almost doubled in value. Okay. But now your Bitcoin caches and all those are slowly getting into their imbalances. So although they're still bullish, still getting into their imbalances. If you look at Ethereum Classic, hasn't done that yet. So all these coins would potentially still have their moment while Bitcoin kind of figures it out, have their moment to go there. There's just no way that I can guarantee that that's going to be the case. Whether Ethereum Classic first needs to go down lower, make another sell-off like that with a new gap. Okay? Like Ether to us. I mean, Ethereum originally, there was my, we're going to go, Ethereum's going to go moon, breakout buy, created a gap. And then I said, okay, wait for it to fill the gap. It didn't fill the gap. Oops. Then it went down lower, it created another gap. Then it filled the gap. I got out of my ETH, and that's it. So, and this is spot, not leverage. You don't never do this on leverage. That's how you do it on spot. So I don't have a way that I could even give you any guarantee on this. But what we can say is, until this breaks out, the Ethereum Classic to, say, Bitcoin pairing, until you have something like this, it just breaks out. Because you can see it kind of narrows it down to a point, and then it gets this point where it's so under pressure. Everybody's so overwhelming in one direction, orientated. It has this quick momentary breakout, confirms the resistance that is, or support that's not turned into resistance, it goes on lower. So until that happens, we have that breakout. It's your guess is as good as mine. Okay. Now, if you're underwater with these, that's the kind of coins that I would say a spot. Wait for the imbalances to occur. Now, on a smaller time frame, you can probably say that $17 probably for Ethereum Classic. But man, I can't give you any guarantees that that's going to happen. Not financial advice. Okay, the same will happen with any of the other ones like Dash. I mean, I don't even know Dash still exists. Let's go and have a look at Dash. Dash is not even on Bybit anymore. Oh no, this is just because I've got it filtered on Blowfit. Let's quickly have a look. Let's see. Dash. It's not even on Bybit anymore. Okay. So you're going to have to look at it on something else. Okay. So let's load it. Dash. Let's go Binance. Okay. Same thing there. I mean, that's a confirmed downtrend, making lower low. RSI is telling you it wants to turn around, but it's not quite there yet. There's that potential that it's going to go to 29, but I won't hold my breath for that just yet. It still needs more pain, probably before anything like that happens. So what do? You should consider weighing the odds. Say maybe if Dash goes close to 20, say $20 thereabout, sell some, because you ladder yourself out of a bad HODL, okay, and then you can always reinvest later on. And then have that run and see that half of your Dash double in value while this then still moves down. And then when you have done that, you can decide to get out completely, or if it breaks through, add to the position and then wait for maybe $30 for Dash. Okay. Will these necessarily go make higher highs? I mean, ETH has proven to us it's not going to happen. But what I do know is, I mean, from at some stage, maybe next cycle, these coins are going to be so well accumulated between these that want to hold them or forget about them that they might do a little fast pump and dump and go to these crazy levels. No guarantees, no way that I know, that I can do that. And I won't necessarily hold out for that. Don't stay on a sinking ship when there's clearly rockets that you can move on to. Okay, that's it. Good question, Glenn. Right, let's see what else we have. Last one, and then we can close off the stream. Do not conflate price and value. Bitcoin has a great price and absolutely zero value. I'm going to disagree with you flat on, Eric. And, how can you say that it doesn't have any value? Come on. Okay. There's enough out there. I'm not going to re-quote anybody. There's enough out there to say that. Okay. Peter, you shouldn't even start that one. Will you please look at Band? I'll look at Band for Rene. Bank. You're going to make bank with Band, Rene. Okay. Let's have a look at Band. Let's see. Binance. Right. Same thing here. Let's use a trend scope indicator. I mean, I showed you how to use this last week. Let's start off. Okay. Look at this thing from a short-term momentum. Okay. Short-term momentum. What do you want to see? You want to see the right sequence of coins, of these lines. Okay. Red over green over yellow. You want to know how this works yet again. Your Bybit role gives you access to all that information in the Discord. Okay, so it's in your how to use tools section. Click there. There is the trend scope indicator. Okay, back to this. So short term, this thing is down. Now let's have a look at this long term. Long term, this thing is probably exactly the same. Let's look even more so down, bearish. So there's a trending coin for you from a bearish point of view. So if you hold this thing on spot, the frustrating thing that you have is you could only make money if it goes up. So if it goes down, you need to either get out, ladder yourself out, or have money on the side to buy the dip to dollar cost yourself better into the position. Depends on where you're in with this. So what do? Simple. You mark out the support and resistance levels. Okay. You can clearly see that that was a critical area of support that needed to be held. Okay. All your divergence lows are on that in that range. I mean, it all lines up there. Okay. And where we're at now, what do? We've got another one that's sitting right there that was support. We're clearly below this range. So there's strong bullish divergence, meaning I'm going to do this, that give you the strong bullish, strong divergence prediction. We're in that strong bullish divergence zone. Great. Which means that there will be some demand trying to get in, but it still means that this thing could go to 30 cents. And only once we regain the support, can you think about maybe getting your ass out of this thing at around 87 cents, which it was there just the other day. Okay. From that point onwards, maybe we will turn this into support and start turning this into a trend and so forth. And then you can look to farm or add the coins back into your portfolio. Okay, that's how we do that. Right, let's see what else. Morning, Tilly, AVAX. My friends, I have done everything that I could do for the amount of time that we have. Sonic seems intentionally sold off. Look, yeah, maybe I've now opened the door. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just quickly have a look at Sonic for you guys. Let's go. There, boom. And let's go to Sonic. Sonic is in the bearish section. Very bearish. Where is this thing? Ticker is SUSDT, correct? This is the right ticker. I just want to make sure. Peter, right ticker, no? Yeah, all right. Okay, so this is the one. And you can see it is long-term trending bearish. Short-term trending bearish. But all of these, when they do these massive sell-offs, let's have a look at the last massive sell-off. What happens when you have a massive sell-off? You can blame and say it's all these things, or you can say that it's just a continuation of trend, but the market tends to overreact first. Okay. So hidden divergence prediction means where would the trend continue onwards? There. Okay. Massive sell-off. Okay. What are you looking for? Higher high in RSI, lower high in price. You can't use that because you didn't do anything there. There's the divergence. Now, what do? We made a low. Then we went up. We did that again. So the market, this is why technical analysis exists, because the market will repeat itself, but it will always rhyme, never repeat itself. Okay. Then what do? You made another sell-off. Okay. So what do? We're going to be waiting for this, waiting for the high. We don't have that. But what we do have here is this already. So we can argue, and you can say that there's a lot of manipulation and but all I'm just saying is this thing's trending bearish. Manipulation is your friend because it creates this. This is manipulation. It creates the fractal, the repetitiveness of certain things. That's why technical analysis works. Manipulation is your friend. Look for manipulation and capitalize on that. That's what buying the dip means. Okay. Hope that kind of helps you. Right. And that's about that for today. Thanks so much, guys. I went over time with a lot of minutes again. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to be in the Discord. I'm going to be trading with everybody in the live trade room. So if you've got the roles, you'll have access to this as well. And the game plan is exceptionally simple. Hidden bearish divergence, clear as daylight. Okay, there you go. I want to short this because we need strong bullish divergence to maybe say that this is a bottom, to even start thinking about buy, and that's the bottom of the range, be bullish at the bottom, to even start thinking about anything else. Short term now. Remember, this is short term. Okay, thanks so much, guys. Have a lovely day. Chat to you soon. Cheers.